Okay, so welcome to the eyecare education podcast. This is episode 8, and after the last episode all about COVID from a practice perspective, we thought we'd do one from a supply perspective. So we've got a number of suppliers in today. We've got Nigel Castle from Lenstec, so representing the lens manufacturing side of the business. We've got Gavin Gresswell from Thea Pharmaceuticals, so representing the pharma side of the drops, etc. We've got Tom Wolfenden from Wolf Eyewear, and we've got Liam Eaton from Einar Eyewear, so we've got the frames covered, and we've got Grant from XEYEX, so we've got the software aspect covered as well, and we've got Jeff Landucci from AOS, who are, again, a software company specialising in remote triage apps and that kind of diagnostic software. So we've pretty much got all the bases covered in terms of the industry in that aspect. So what we'll do is we'll hand you over to each person individually, and you can just give a brief introduction of yourself. So if we start with you, Nigel, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure, Stuart. Okay, I'm Nigel Castle. I'm the Managing Director of the Lenstec Optical Group. I stumbled into optics straight from school as a 16-year-old and worked in manufacturing. I joined Lenstec, which was a small optician's workshop at the time. And that was in 1987, so that's 32 years now. So it brings me to 48 years in the industry.
Wow. Yeah, excellent, excellent. How about you, Gavin?
Well, I'll bring that average right down, Nigel. So I've been in optics for just 2 years now. So my background's pharmaceuticals, so 20 odd years in cardiovascular, diabetes, asthma in mainstream pharma. So it was time for a change. And so I find myself as National Sales Manager at Thea Pharmaceuticals. So looking after the dry eye and blepharitis and nutritional products for opticians.
Excellent, cool. How about you, Tom?
So I'm a owner director for Wolf Eyewear, and we started Wolf 10 years ago, and myself and my dad and my stepmom Margaret still run it today. My dad, if anyone knows him, is Ian Wolfenden, was with Silhouette and has been in the industry a long time, so optics is very much a big part of our family and has been for many years. I think in January he went over the 40-year mark in optics, and is still a big part of it, part of the business today.
Excellent, cool, perfect. And how about you, Liam?
Yeah, so I started in the business by chance really in 2006 with Aviva Eyewear. So selling Tommy Hilfiger into the market was my first introduction into optics. So I spent many years doing it. Had a bit of a break in the middle, working in the professional hair care sector, which was interesting, and actually very, very many similarities between what we do day to day and that life. Reconnected with Ron Stockel, who is another owner director of Einar in 2014-15. We launched Einar UK in 2014 and been here as sales director ever since. So yeah, started a break and came back.
There you go. Obviously got the bug for it then, definitely.
I'm not sure about that.
How about you, Grant?
Yeah, well, I started in optics 23 years ago. It scares me to say that now. And it really started out as a part-time job when I was at university. And I was just really trying to fund a trip to Australia, if I'm being honest. But I ended up falling in love with optics, and I decided back then I think I want to build a piece of software for opticians. So this has been a passion of mine for a long period of time, and I went off and had a career in IT in lots of big companies, really became a specialist in cloud and web-based applications. And then about 9 years ago, after the financial crisis, my entire team got made redundant. So we, myself and Tracy, who is the co-founder, we worked together in a previous organisation, and we started XEYEX nearly 9 years ago now. So we're well down the line with in terms of growth of the business. We now have a team of 12 people. We have almost 250 sites across the UK. We process 10 million data transactions a day. Well, that's 10 million a day when people are working, but now it's vastly reduced. We're probably using about 2% of our infrastructure at the moment. But I have had a long-term passion for optics.
Excellent, cool. And how about you, Jeff? Last but not least.
Me then, last. Right. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome, gents. I'm sales director of AOS. We supply anterior software. It's a grading software that takes you from the past of Efron and CCCLRU to the future of technology. So we've been doing this for 3/4 years. I joined the company 16 months ago. It's been a bit of a roller coaster ride in those 16 months. Probably seen everybody somewhere at one of the shows. Before that, I started my career 27 years ago with Birmingham Optical. Fell into it, was serving a pint to the director of the company at the time, and he decided he wanted to give me a job. So I grew through optics, through Birmingham Optical, selling, installing all Nidec equipment. Took a couple of years out, went traveling for a few years, came back, a bit of freelance, and then took up 10 years with Keeler as a distribution manager throughout the UK. So launched some great products with Keeler. And as I say, I'm just 16 months into AOS, and obviously this period of time has really created a lot of interest within what we're doing with telemedicine, etc. So exciting times ahead. So thanks for the invite.
That's all right, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. It's an interesting one for you, isn't it, Jeff, in particular, because the actual software that you do is kind of become like a real useful tool at this time, isn't it?
Well, it has. Strangely enough, it was the whole concept was we developed the software, and then to take people up into the new age of analyzing software, we created a mobile phone app that they could attach via an adapter to their slit lamp, so they could actually upgrade a standard slit lamp to become a digital slit lamp. Because I totally believe that, if you're going to do proper kind of examination, especially with contact lenses, dry eye, you need some form of images to take, educate the patients. So it was one of those. We got chatting and we thought, can we make the mobile app into a triage app for patients at home? Because just knowing that people cannot get out and about. So the technical guys, they did a few little tweaks in the back end of the software, and we've been able to do this, which has just transformed our business amazingly over the last 8 weeks. We've had a webinar in the week. I've done a few with you, yourself, Stuart, and we've had like 16 sign-ups today.
Wow.
So it's really been a strange period. We're doing a lot with like Thea, Bondi, Pharmaceuticals. We're working with a lot of companies at the moment to try and move forward to try and help, and that's what we've been doing. So it's been a lot of hard work, but we're getting there. So yeah, it's been a real interesting time.
Yeah, definitely.
It kind of answers one of the first questions actually about what we're trying to do to help, because Jeff just mentioned there that we're working with AOS at Thea as well, and in partnership with the Daro. So I guess, Jeff, pull me up if I miss something here, but the way that the three of us are working is, side of the business obviously will kind of, the guys will take a photo of their eye and send it, and will then diagnose the issue remotely. And then clearly our products fit in very nicely with what's been diagnosed, and then Adara will then home deliver those products to the patient's home. So it's, as Jeff says, we had a teleconference, a webinar on Wednesday night with about 150 people, I think it was. And my team have already been signing a lot of people to this over the last couple of days as a result. So it's proving pretty popular, I would say.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, I think there was about 250 on the webinar, and kind of showed that people are looking forward to when we get out of this period, how they're going to create a new business for themselves. Because Wednesday, it was no CET points, and we had 250 people sign up and stay in, which proves that people are interested in how they can move forward. It's not just about points at the moment. You know, we can grab points anywhere, jump on anything, grabbing points, but people are realizing now, you know, listening to the other, I haven't quite listened to all 8 of them yet, Stuart, but the one last week was great, how people are now looking a little bit more forward about this period of time of when we're going to come out, how they're going to transform their business to work in this current state, because we're not going to get back to how we were before. It's going to take a long, long time before that comes back. So let's see how we can create business for ourselves. So, you know, we're in the same boat as all the opticians out there as well. We've got to adapt and change to suit this period in time as well. So it really is interesting that, you know, the educational path is brilliant, but also just the advice that we guys are giving today, you know, is helping everybody work around the solutions to their business.
Yeah, definitely. I think one of the main things people want to know is what other suppliers are going to do for them, for their business, really, isn't how are they going to support. So what kind of things are you guys putting in place? Obviously with you guys, Jeff and Thea, you've come up with this home triage aspect of it, but what about the rest of you? What kind of things are you putting in place to support practices at the moment?
I think for us, and Liam and potentially Nigel the same, it's in order for the optician to move forward, they need to be able to give the patient the best care possible and do the best they can. So in order to do that, they need their supply chain to be as flexible and work with them as best they can. So sticking to the old rigid rules that certain companies may use, I don't see as being part of how the business model can move forward. So we've tried to learn and adapt and be flexible and come at a new approach, much like I think Liam potentially probably will do the same. You know, we'll try and work very closely with people. We'll move frames back and forth, and we'll just keep it as a fluid transition back and forth. So I think that's certainly our goal with it. So probably less rep visits, that sort of thing from our side, but working more with what they feel they need in practice.
Definitely. And volume of patients is going to be a key thing as far as frames goes, isn't it? When people are social distancing and limiting the amount of people coming into practice, then obviously it's going to reduce the amount of frames that are being sold. So having that flexibility from you guys is going to be important, isn't it? Definitely. So what are your thoughts on that, Liam, in terms of what's buying?
I think I've spoken, as I'm sure Tom and everybody else has, you know, I've spoken to many of my clients over the past few weeks, and of course shared in nervousness and some optimism. But certainly for me, I mean, we are in the difficult situation that, of course, we rely on the optician to do every level of business in order for us to make anything, you know, and we're almost in delay of them. So, you know, if day one is June 1st or July 1st, whenever it is, well, day one for us will more than likely be some weeks after that, because, of course, what is paramount is that each practice finds a method of doing their business which is, one, safe for their staff, and two, safe for their patients. And then the requirement of needing or not needing frames, I'm sure, will come some weeks after. So for us, it's a very precarious position that we're in, and we look to the future with some optimism, even though that's quite difficult. But like Tom said, I mean, I think there was 2 things that we really considered at this time. And the first thing, the main thing that I'll just mention now is contact. And we've made the decision that no rep from Einar will visit a practice for the short to medium term. I just think if we've got reps that are going to different towns, different cities, different practices, and then rocking up at your practice, I just think that's the wrong thing to do. So, of course, we've got to cater our business for us around that. But difficult, but we're trying.
Yeah. Do you think with the rep visits, I mean, because I do a bit of rep work with Booth and Bruce as well. So, I mean, I kind of started that just before this all kicked off. So I didn't really get my teeth into it too much, you know, to begin with. But do you think there's just a general kind of feeling that people aren't just going to want people to turn up, are they? They're going to be feeling the pinch a little bit in practice, and then as soon as you get someone who's perceived as coming in to sell you something, it's probably not going to go down too well, is it? So I think the rep side of it will probably take a back foot in terms of pushing sales, but contacting people to let them know that you're there for them and that you can support them and that you can still access the business is the important aspect, isn't it?
I think that's,
and a lot of it's mindset as well. So although it is a bad situation, the government have done an awful lot to get us to this point, and it is continuing. And you don't want to go into a practice, and as a patient in there, you don't want to suddenly have a practice that's, could be fairly small, could be medium, but you don't want 6 people bobbing around. People naturally feel uncomfortable in that situation for some time. So adding to that with reps going through the door from day one, as Liam said, is not necessarily right. We'll probably be doing a very similar thing, certainly for the first few months. I think that is paramount. We will still see people if it is a booked appointment, and it won't be based off the back of loads of cold calls. That method is definitely gone by for a little while.
I also think that their sales staff are going to need to be flexible in the times in which they go and see clients. It may be that people want to see us at 7 in the morning.
Exactly.
Or 8 in the evening, and I'm sure Tom's the same. All of us will be the same. That if that's what our clients require right now, then that's what we will deliver.
100%. And the guys, we've talked to all our guys and said that, if they do have a 7 o'clock appointment, no, we're not going to expect you to be on the road at 5 o'clock. It's having flexible with your team as well. And I must say, our team for the last 8 weeks, we've had weekly Zoom calls about how to deal with it, and they've been in touch with their customers, and it's been really positive in terms of how they want to deal with the opticians coming out of this. And it's always the same. Their safety is first, and making sure that the frames go out safely.
Yeah, definitely. How about you, Nigel? Because obviously with Lenstec, you're supplying frames and lenses. So what kind of plans does Lenstec have?
Yeah, currently I think we're all in this ever moving in target here, and it's about getting close to your customers, of which I'm sure we all are, and finding out exactly what they want from a frame and lens supply. I think we need to look at ways at how we can help customer with stock and purchases, and really get close to them and find out what they need, and that then brings a bit of the lens supply back into the lab as well. We're currently running at about 95% down in volume. We've got 2 labs that are up to the 3 that are open. Pretty much normal service, albeit a little slower than normal, and couriers and all those sorts of things are bringing their own challenges into the supply stream. And we're probably, we've got too many staff around for the volume, but it's about supporting that customer when they need us now. We've also found that we've had some non-Lenstec customers come to us needing help because their normal supply chain is not functioning, and that's fine. We've supplied them, and there's no pressure to try and take that business then away from another lab later on. It's about helping everybody this time, because it is an awful situation for all of us. And I'd agree with Tom on the sales side too. We just need to withdraw ourselves, but stay close to the customer, and again find out what their needs are going to be. And it's moving. The government are helping tremendously for us all, but it's going to be very, very tough and a totally different outset for us and different ways of working as we get through this and come out. And we just need to be flexible.
Yeah, definitely. It's interesting what you say about not sort of poaching business as well. You're having orders from people who don't normally use you, but you haven't got that mindset where you're going to try and poach that business, and and I think that's kind of evident throughout the industry in optics, isn't it? We're all sort of a big family in that sense, and even though we've got 2 different frame suppliers, they all get on, they all share ideas and all the rest of it. So we're all pretty good in that sense in optics, I think. So how about you, Grant? Because you guys have been doing quite a bit of support for your customers, haven't you?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the themes there, you know, that everybody's talking about is flexibility and adapting. And, you know, we engaged with our customers maybe about a week to 10 days before lockdown actually was announced. And we ran a couple of webinars. Stuart, you helped out on them, which was great. And really, we wanted to find out from customers, what do you need us to do for you right now? Because I guess we've always positioned ourselves as a partner to the customer. We don't have reps that are visiting in and out and seeing customers on a periodically basis. We have this ongoing relationship with our customers, and I think, you know, what was evident right away is that people needed some proactive help with recalls, and our system manages recalls for people. We did a lot of mass communications for people very early on to get in contact with their customers quite quickly. And then this month, we scheduled more than 30 training sessions across the course of the month. So something like a grand total of 45 to 50 hours this month of training on the system, CET. We really have encouraged our customers to take this opportunity to try and exploit our software in ways that they're not already using it, to get more benefit, to be more efficient on the other side, to be paperless. And we launched a mobile app for customers to talk to each other, to exchange ideas. And, you know, I think that's the feedback from customers on that was that was great. And even now we're only halfway through that calendar of training, and customers have really engaged on a grand scale with it.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's been a real big engagement with any kind of learning, hasn't there, at the moment during this time? Yeah. I mean, we've certainly noticed with CET sessions that we've been putting on, they have been really popular, and there's not been a shortage of CET whatsoever, has there? I mean, obviously you guys have put a lot on. AOS have been doing, and Thea. There's so many people putting on webinars and stuff like that. It has been a real sort of busy time for CET in that sense. But there's definitely a thirst for it, and I think a lot of it. And a lot of the feedback we've been getting is that people just want to talk to other people. They just want to speak to another adult rather than, you know, being stuck at home with the kids all the time and all the rest of it. And
nobody wants to talk to me.
Yeah, even talking to Jeff.
I've been sitting here for weeks on my own, really. This is the first conversation I've had. I've been to the pub.
I've got a 15-week-old baby in this house. It screams from morning, noon, and night. So I just can't wait to get away. I'll lock the door.
I think one thing as well that it's easy to forget is that when you're running a business, that's a lonely place to be a lot of the time. You know, everybody's looking to you internally for the answers. Your staff, your customers are quite often looking to you for answers as well, and just connecting all of our respective customers to each other gives them a lot of support.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And it's difficult to have the answers, isn't it? Because no one really knows what's going to happen. Or, you know, when it first came, you know, when you set up those webinars, Grant, it was no one really knew what to say in terms of what they think will happen, because it was just before the lockdown, wasn't it? But it's just nice to get a few ideas together and sort of know that you're not the only person that's feeling that way about some things, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, it's always good to bounce off people, isn't it? You know, we've all got different ideas. We all run businesses very differently, and if we can all help each other with ideas going forward, as like Nigel saying, he's had some customers that he's never had before because the other labs have been closed down. You know, you help each other, don't you? And you know, if we all stick together, then we'll survive. But if we all start running off by ourselves, then you know you're going to get picked off and probably not survive as much. And I think the opticians have to be like that as well. You know, some of the stores aren't open. People are ringing around. You know, we've had the General Joe Pog public ringing us asking, how do I get the app? How can I triage? Who's open? You know, they've been asking us these questions. So, and we've been passing that on, saying, look, we've been speaking to these guys. We know they're open. Give them a touch, give them a call, you know, whichever way you can help. And it is that way, as you said, Stuart, you know, our industry, we're all in it, but, you know, we're all friends. We all go and have a beer together, you know, so we all get on. and we'll all help each other. And that's how the opticians have got to be seen as well, that they're helping each other, not trying to just steal new customers because you're not open, but try to help through this.
I agree with that, Jeff, because in general terms, we are a very close industry, and I think how we deal with each other and how we deal with our customers at that point will determine how we all come out of this, and how continue those relationships. And none of us have ever been in this position before. We are, as business owners, we are all, this is the lonely times really, and I think you're just got to do whatever you can to trade through this, in terms of, not trade in terms of turnover, but trade in terms of help. We've got jobs where people was just going to stay in those trades, and we won't even open an account on that basis, because it is generally help. If we open an account, it allows us to target them afterwards, and we don't really want that at this stage as we help people out. So, and I've been surprised. It's been a learning curve, actually going back into the lab every day, which I haven't done for some time. It's amazing what you see and what you learn, and what people are actually requesting of you, posting jobs all over the country, and working in different ways that we've never worked in before.
I think when you take away the luxury and the guarantees of getting business through the door, and you get down to necessity, that really shows you how your business model is working, and whether you're dealing with people in the right way. And if you're not, you'll soon know. And I think over the last 8 weeks, people have had a lot of time to think about how their business model works. Are they engaging with their patients in the right way? Are they engaging with suppliers in the right way? Are they doing the right things? Are they making the right margins? There's a lot of different things that will have been thought about. And they'll come back to this with more ideas and more thoughts on how to improve and deliver a better service, whether that be with a different supplier or not. But the engagement will change on such a level that the model will move, the whole industry will move because of this, and I think it will be in a positive way. For example, for us, we talk to our guys on the road an awful lot, but we didn't do many face-to-face chats. We would have 2 or 3 meetings a year, and then the big shows. Actually, the Zoom meetings have been brilliant. To see people's facial reactions, etc., have been brilliant. And actually, funnily enough, tonight we're going to have one with a beer, because it's just changing out of the norm of having just one at 11 o'clock on a Wednesday morning and talking business. Actually, well, let's talk a bit more socially, and I think that will probably feed through into the opticians as well.
So is it fancy dress tonight then? Is it time?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Breaking out the Iron Man costume.
Yeah.
I actually think this will form a lot of the future, to be honest. In the pharma industry, there's a lot of e-tailing and online sales calls. I certainly think something similar will happen now with optics as well. I mean, already some of my guys are Zooming some customers, those that are actually in store or even at home, whether it's talking about products or actually offering them some help with team building, for example, virtually for their teams. So there's an awful lot that you can do virtually. Even running training sessions, whether it's our products or products as a whole, you can send stuff in advance so that when Zoom happens, they can touch, they can do everything. So you're not really missing out that much in a way. So it's definitely something worth doing.
Yeah, definitely. I think, like I say, Zoom's been an absolute blessing, hasn't it? I mean, I've certainly got my money's worth out of my subscription over the last month. It's been great for us. But I think one of the things that people have expressed a little bit of worry about from a practice perspective is that is the potential risk of losing business to online companies. So particularly with obviously online dispensing and stuff like that, contact lenses as well, particularly. So what are your views on that? I mean, what kind of reassurances can you give to your kind of customers about that kind of side of things?
Either way, that's why we're trying to move people towards the Adaro way of doing things. And actually, setting up direct debits and actually getting the stuff posted out regularly when they need it, which will keep them patients away from going online and Amazon, etc. So we're really going to help with that.
Yeah.
Well, definitely. That was something that, was what we did with the partnership with Bondi, and Thea was involved in that, was, stop your customers. You're doing all the hard work of doing the diagnosing, the treatment. They've come to you because they've got an itchy eye or bad contact lens, whichever. And then suddenly they go off to the supermarket, or they go to Amazon, or they go and buy from somewhere else. Why do all that hard work and lose that point of contact with your customer? That persistent touch that you need all the time? Because, guys, these are great. I love them. But we only go in for every 2 years for these. So that period, you've got to make sure that you're always in touch with your customer, because they leave your door, you don't know where they're going to go. Where are they going to go for another 2 years? You're not sure. So with getting them on direct debits, we do it for monthly subscriptions for our phones, for Netflix. We do it for everything. Why don't we do it for eye health? And it's £10-15 a month instead of going in and spending £200-300 in one hit. People are going to look at this system so much more, because a lot of people, okay, the furlough system's been great. It's saved a lot of people, saved a lot of companies, but they're going to start looking at doing it monthly subscriptions. So let's do it with your optician. So that's next time you go in, your drops, they're all paid for. Your frames, you've got XYZ to spend on a nice new pair of frames or some sunglasses. You haven't got to suddenly find a lot of money to pay, which is going to cripple a lot of people. So this kind of scheme has got to come in. Opticians have got to start looking at this, because it's guaranteeing them money every month as well. Before they open the door, they haven't got to think about, I've got to do XYZ today to cover all the costs. Most of it's already done. And if you listen to a lot of the guys that have got this set up, I know I'm going to mention Nick Rumney, Brian, but these guys are forward thinking, and everybody else has got to not follow them, but really take this into their mindset about how they run their business.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because I think having a monthly cost is easier to manage, isn't it? Because you don't really save money up throughout the year, do you? You sort of, whatever you haven't got going at your bank account, you spend, don't you, really? So if you've got that way of paying £10-15 a month, and especially if you know that you're going to have to spend £200-400 on some varifocals, high index lenses, etc., when you do go every 2 years. And again, we're obviously going to be heading into a recession by the looks of it. So people are going to be a bit more wary about their money. They're probably not going to have as much disposable income over the next year or so, I'd imagine. So having it done in an easy, manageable way, probably more appealing to the patient.
The online thing, it doesn't matter what industry you're in. It's that thing is never going to go away. I mentioned previously that I used to work in a professional hairdressing supply, and that the online thing was just a pain in my backside, from morning, noon, and night. And it's just part of our lives. And I think what is happening now is many practice owners are, as we are taking time to sit back and reflect. They're away from this rat race. They can actually take 5 minutes, which they've not took forever, to sit back and say, well, how can we change the business, adapt the business for the better? So I think what we will see as business owners is that we have a more educated, more diverse partner or supply, people that we supply. What is evident for me is the independent practice needs to continue to provide an experience. I think the experience is massive. Of course, we need those clients coming through the doors, and that will eventually happen. The importance of providing experience for those clients now is paramount. To stock profitable frames, if it's eyewear we're talking about, every other advert we see now is for online eyewear supply companies, and it's so frustrating. We must make sure that we have retail offers, profitable frames within the business, give their clients a reason to promote themselves and to return. But there's so many things that they can do. But one last thing they can do is they could also sell online themselves. I had a conversation with a client, a good client recently, who asked me for some imagery for a flipogram and as for a flip book, and I said, fine. And she said, you can actually send me the images. And I was like, yes. You know, we can support clients with those images. Why not do 3, 4, 5 trays yourself, get them produced from the manufacturer and say, Mrs. Smith, I know you so well. I know you don't want to visit us today, but because I know you, let me send you 5 frames out. Try them on, have a look, see what you like, get them back to me, and we'll glaze your frame for you. That's a personal service. So I don't need to tell clients that. I'm sure they're thinking those things already. But Tom, myself, all of us here, we will support clients in that new venture if that's something they're going to try and do.
And I think that's it. In part of this, you've got to embrace the online movement, but you can do it that will benefit their own business. Increasing visibility, increasing your social media doesn't necessarily mean people have to buy online. It just means that people are more aware of their particular opticians or their skill set, whether they're, Brian Tompkins is all about contact lenses. He's that direction and that awareness and that visibility is how they're going to attract people through the door. People are willing to go out. Not everyone wants to stay indoors and order everything to their door. Yeah, it's growing, but they don't want that. They want an experience, like Liam says. And if you can increase your visibility and the desire to come to you because of the efficiency and the experience they're going to get, then that I think will play very well in the long term. And that's what Liam's saying, and we're doing the same. We're gearing up to be able to offer PDFs or videos or support for what frames that they will have in store. And and that's the flexibility side.
No, Tom, what's your thoughts on this virtual app thing? I mean, people have mentioned it to me, and I just don't see a place where this virtual app, try your frames on virtually works. And my concern is for those people, something like that, for who that would attract if it ever worked. I think those people would be people that would be going to the online places rather than being committed to an independent practice anyway. Yeah,
I think it's it would make it very complicated from our side to offer a try-on service and then try and differentiate that from the buying service. So it's something we've talked about, but not certainly not implemented. I'm not sure if the necessary technology is available to do it cost effectively either. I think you can probably do it and to a high standard, but it would cost a fortune. I don't know if you could attract enough people to the indie sector to do that. So,
yeah, interesting. That was one of the questions that we had sort of posted on the forum when we asked for questions in ways in which people can try on frames virtually. But again, Liam's idea about sending frames out to your patients, and if you know your patients, you've got that relationship with them.
Yeah, it's great.
Why not? Yeah. A lot of people we spoke to, in terms of the actual day-to-day practice, when it comes to managing which frames are being tried on, and from a health and safety perspective and hygiene perspective, a lot of people are saying that they're going to be selecting frames for the patient, bringing them over on a tray and trying them on, so then they can be disinfected, etc., before they go back on display. Yeah. But to be able to do that as a postal service and then get them in and take measurements at some point and work around it that way, it's a good idea. I think it's embracing the future, isn't it? I suppose. Definitely.
It's always keeping that touch, isn't it, with your customers, and that's what the guys have got to do. Because if you're not seen to be making the effort to be looking after your customers, then they're gonna go. And I love that idea, Liam. It's a great idea.
Yeah,
said that. It's a great idea because, as you say, people are going to be a bit scared, Tom, as you mentioned at first, to be going out.
Yeah, definitely.
So if you can go to them and, Stuart, as you mentioned, if you know your customer, the kind of style frames that they like. You've worked them out because you've got that relationship already with them. So you've got that idea. You can even, send them the collection first and let them see which ones they want, as you said, with the flip. It's a great idea to make sure that you're always in touch with your customers.
The most concerned patients, when you think about these things, Jeff, are the over 70s, which is a big population of a lot of our clients. And for me, they're probably not the ones that are going to go and shop online or have any confidence to do so. So they've got to almost bracket their clients and say, well, how are we going to look after the 70 pluses that don't want to visit us in practice? But you know, we're talking about that now. I can guarantee that even though a lot of our clients were so busy and so involved in the centre of their businesses that they've never had this breathing space to sit back and actually look at their business, whether that's to paint the walls a different colour or to actually look at the model of their business. And one thing that I can say is it's brought some forward thinking out of a lot of practice owners, salon owners and optoms. And also from the conversations that I've had, it's really clear to me that relationships with our clients and us are now more important than they've ever been before, because they look to us to help them in this journey of a new business. And all of us are here and adapt and ready to do it with them. So I think our relationships now are more important than ever before.
Yeah, definitely.
But definitely, because we're not really salespeople, we're actually business development managers, aren't we? We help businesses develop. You know, we're not that horrible salesperson that wants their money. Yes, of course we do, but they're the same as well. They want their customers' money, so they're no different to us. So we are all business development managers. That's what I see as that. And if we can help them out, then we will do. We'll go through back and beyond to really turn around to try and provide the service that I know all you guys do for your customers, that, you know, because the end users are our customers as well. So we've got to make sure that we're doing the right job for them. And I love that idea of, you know, and for the over 70s, they'll love it. They'll feel like it's a day out, won't they? You know, somebody's going to deliver some lenses, frames for them.
That's it.
Send a nice new mirror with them or something, you know, just to make it a bit of a glamour day for them. Because they're going to be stuck in, you know, not being able to go anywhere. So you've just got to spice it up a little bit, haven't you? So
I also think that in the early days of you know, post returning to work, there's going to be a lot of people nervous to go out. Going to try and find ways of bringing them back into the, you know, into the stream where they're getting our support. And as I said at the beginning, this is going to be an ever moving target for us, and that flexibility is going to be our absolute key to.
It is, and also giving them the confidence that they're being looked after, whether it's from PPE or, like you say, sterilising frames, cleaning frames, seeing that all those products in a practice, people will have the confidence to say, yeah, I went in there and I felt clean, I felt safe, and then they'll tell their friends, and then it will come through. But having that mentality to be like that for your patient has to come across first. Yeah. But certainly for the next few months, whether it be from June or July, but through to the autumn, it's got to be patient safety first, and then, you know, then we can move on.
Yeah, definitely. So one of the big questions we've been getting is how are you going to sterilise frames? What's the best way to sterilise frames? So a lot of people are worried how they're going to manage that process. So people have been asking about UV cleaners, soapy water in an ultrasonic cleaner. So what would you, like frame suppliers, recommend as the best way to disinfect and clean frames?
Well, I don't mind starting with this. So of course, our business, we distribute frames. We have an operation in 24 countries. And obviously, some countries are more ahead right now than what we are. So one of our clients in Romania actually has invested in the UV lamps within the office, within the warehouse, because we're told that is the best way of disinfecting these frames or killing germs, as it were. The issue is, the worry for me with that is how harmful are they to human beings, and should we be using them anyway? So they've adopted a light at night scenario where they just put them on during the night. So we're looking into that personally with our warehouse, whether that's an option for us. I'm interested to see what everybody else says. I mean, these UV lamps, I'm sure, are very expensive. I just can't see past either, and I could give you the details of how to clean glasses with your hands using dishwashing liquid, or just pal wipes. I mean, pal wipes are alcohol free. They kill 99.9% of germs. I personally can't see past that being the best option.
No, I
Could be
can't.
wrong.
You know, as long as it's alcohol-free, it shouldn't really do damage to quality frames. The lacquer should be strong enough to use normal cleaners to do it. A lot of people have inquired with us because we brought in quite a lot of PPE through the last 8 weeks. A lot of people have inquired to us about UV sterilisers. We've actually not going to do it on the basis that it's an electrical item. We're not an electrical company, so I don't want to take the risk. But a lot are talking about those being the primary source to clean frames. Here from our point of view, we won't be touching physical frames with our physical hands. We'll be using the bags, but the bags will be, you can wipe the bags down and there's no touching of the frame. So we can wipe them down with whatever we want to. And, that doesn't mean that we're touching the frame at all. And we've got bundles of gloves in. So internally, there's very little transmission if there is here. So that's from our point of view in terms of dispatch. But we haven't looked at any big UV lamps. That'll be quite interesting. Someone will think we're doing something naughty.
They have plenty of money in Romania. They could afford to buy them, not us. I also looked into cleaning glasses, and the only way that I could see, other than using pal wipes, the cheapest way, if you like, was actually just to clean them with your hands. So, what I'm told is if you wash and dry your hands thoroughly, rinse your glasses under warm water, apply a drop of dishwashing liquid and clean them for a few minutes or 20 seconds even, throughout, rinse and inspect them, shake them to eliminate as much fluid as you can, and then wipe them with a lint-free cloth. Clean lint-free cloth is as good as anything. So, we're all concerned, of course, about this virus, and this is why we're in this situation. But I think very sensible measures to keep these frames clean are the way forward. But pal wipes that are alcohol-free should be absolutely fine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think with you guys, Nigel, as well, because you do frames that come glazed as well, don't you? So it's potentially an idea, isn't it, to have a completely sterilised frame glazed and sent into practice. And that way, if you have got display frames that are constantly being cleaned, the actual frame that the patient receives isn't going to be, damaged in any way.
That's it.
Yeah, the wipes are a good measure and just good cleaning procedures, I think. And TR90 has been around for a long time now, and I think most customers are using safe cleaners with no alcohol or acetone, involved in that cleaning. Funnily though, on the UV, I've actually sent out a UV machine to a customer who's going to actually trial. So I wouldn't necessarily rule that one out yet. There are a number of people coming forward looking to supply these pieces of kit, but that's all I know at the moment. It's just going out on test into the market. We've had all the spec for it, but spec is one thing, but actually making sure it works, is practical and at the right cost is the key. So just watching that one carefully at the moment.
Mm-hmm. You can check your transitions on them as well, can't you? Right.
Yeah, they say it'll cover out all materials, all lenses, all coatings, but we need to test that out really.
Yeah. Early days on that, isn't it? Early days. So, what do you think suppliers can do to be a force for good in the industry in these times, then, and going forward?
I think, for me, who's going there? Sorry. Go for it.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the things that we have thought about a lot in the last couple of years is access to data, and data is really good for making decisions. So we have, across our customers' patient bases, we have 1.7 million patient records in our system. And I put a message out to customers last week to say that as a business, we'll pay for 30,000 text messages to go out to those patients, to get a survey of them just now to say, what is your feeling about coming back into practice? What sort of measures would you like to see us have in place? Would you be willing to come in at 7 in the morning? Would you be willing to come in at 7 at night? And what we'll do is it'll go out in the customer's name, but that survey will be a single survey across all of these sites, you know, across the UK. We'll do the same with email. So if we can get 3,000-4,000 responses in a survey, we'll have a really good idea for our customers' direct customer base, what their propensity to come back into practice will be. And we've had a lot of good dialogue with customers already on that. And even some customers are saying, can I know you're going to pay for the first 30,000, but could I give you, you know, a few £100 more and you'll survey a wider subset of my patients, and then I'll have a good feeling for what my individual position is in relation to the rest of the market. So it's about leveraging our own unique positions, I think.
Definitely, yeah. 'Cause I suppose it's hard for a lot of practices to communicate on such a big scale with their patient base, isn't it? So if you've got something where you can manage that and you can send that information out, definitely, like, data is king, isn't it? In that sense, it's going to be a big help.
Yeah, and you know, the big boys are going to be doing this. They will undoubtedly be looking at the data that they've got and making decisions for their practices on that base. And if you you know, just by means of a statistic, we have more sites in Scotland that use our software than Specsavers have stores. So in terms of accessing data quickly for customers, but getting it to people that otherwise wouldn't have access to that level of data is a really powerful position or offering to give to our customers.
Definitely,
yeah, definitely. What were you going to say?
Data for me, Stuart, is everything, but not only forward-thinking data, but it's historic data too. You know, we are in a situation that none of us have ever been into before, ever. So it's not as if we can, you know, trail through the archives and say, when it happened last time, this is what the outcome was. But you need to look at, certainly from a financial point of view, you've got to look at the last crisis. So the financial crisis in 2007, 2008, effectively 2009. What did we learn? You know, we learned that from a purchasing point of view that a lot of people wanted more value for their book. You know, people they expected to pay £10,000 for a car a day in 2006 thought they'd get the same car for £2,000 cheaper. In their world, my world and Tom's world, those clients that are coming in expecting a glazed frame, or they would have paid £100 for a glazed frame before COVID-19, will be expected to pay, in my opinion, between maybe 50 and 80 for the same frame. So I feel there's going to be, looking at historic data, I really believe that there will be some financial issues when we come out of this. People are going to be nervous. People are going to be more cautious about their spend. Which is why, you know, we feel that we need to be providing the best quality frames at the best prices, and that's certainly something that we intend to do. The question then is will the practices then replicate those same kind of discounts, if you like? And for me, it's a case of, I believe, having to. I really believe that will need to be much more price conscious from a frame point of view than we've ever been before. I hope that I'm proved wrong, but I don't see it.
Yeah, it's interesting. It trickles down, doesn't it? And I think patients, certainly, I mean, some of the places I've worked at, people are very price conscious, and they'll say, well, you know, it's only a bit of plastic and some bits of metal. They don't really see a value in the actual product sometimes, but that's where the service and the professionalism comes in, doesn't it? And if you've got high quality frames, explain the features and benefits and discussing that with your patient and going the whole hog and, you know, going through that whole sort of piece with them. That's where you've got to sort of show the benefit, really, isn't it? One sort of discussion that I had with a lot of patients was the cost of eye tests as well. And people would sort of say, you know, talk about having a free eye test and they can get a free eye test from such and such place, etc. And I'd have to explain to them that, look, you know, you're looking at about £70 on an average cost to actually perform an eye test, and you're getting £21 off the NHS, or you're having it done free somewhere. That's why you're having to pay a huge markup on eyewear to cover that cost initially for the practice. So they need to understand the whole process, really, and the whole sort of professionalism involved in that final product, which comes through education, isn't it, really?
Yeah, definitely. I think there's a lot out there are reevaluating the value of the sight test, and if their volume is going to be lower through social distancing, how do they get, in essentially, more bang for the buck? How do they, get the value out of what they're doing? If the volume's not there, does the price of the sight test go up? Do the frames go up? We're going to see natural inflation jump after this. Cost of borrowing money, everything is going to move north, straight after this. Anything that seems to have gone down is fuel. But after this, I can see that inflation will be in probably the high single digits, certainly for a little while. And that translates into the cost of electricity, the cost of running a practice, rents, leases. So naturally, the cost of frames may well go up. Lenses, servicing those, delivery. So software packages, all of this is translation. So I do see it moving forward.
We're trying to help support practice with dry eye clinics, because clearly you talk about more bang for your buck. I think there's an opportunity with dry eye clinics, so we're helping support with a flat pack to help independents set up these clinics. So I think when we do get back into the store, that will be something that will be a benefit for them.
Yeah, definitely. Those kind of things are worth their weight in gold, really, aren't they? I mean, having professional services that you can offer to your patients, it does set you apart from the rest of the high street sort of brands, doesn't it? And I think, again, you can order a pair of glasses online and get a pair of glasses made up fairly easily, but you can't have myopia management online. You can't have dry eye clinics online and all the rest of it. So yeah, if you're worried about that online threat, then you really need to diversify the services that you're offering and offer things that can't be replicated, as a quick online thing, really. Definitely. So what do you think the future of optics looks like in sort of near future?
Lots of PPE.
Yeah.
Which is another added cost to the optician, isn't it? So that's got to somewhere come into the cost of the eye test as well, because all of a sudden they've got to add all PPE in. So, that's going to hit the back pocket, isn't it, to those guys? So somewhere in that line, they've got to charge or keep the price the same, really.
It's going to change back from what has been softening into a very boutique retail perspective in a lot of areas. Come in, have a cup of coffee, chill, look at a few frames, and have a real discussion about it. It's going to go back very clinical, isn't it? Where they come out full suit, masks, visors, and then it's one in, one out, choose your frame, you hopefully spend some time, and then you can't hang around, sort of thing. So I think certainly in the near future, it's going to look very clinical.
Do you think PP will be around long term in optics?
So, from what I understand, from various health sectors, they're going to be required to use it. So past Christmas. So for at least 6 months, it will be full PPE based, and that's, we've dealt with care homes, a couple of small trusts, and a lot of opticians in the last 8 weeks for it, and they're all buying based on the fact that they need to run for 6 months at full load. Just hopefully that they can reduce the amount that they have to do as they keep the R rate low, and we all know about that, and they can get, you get used to it a bit more, and you can get some volume back into the industry.
Yeah,
as I say, it'll get to a point where they won't have to completely double up, etc. They'll probably go back to like how the dentists are now, just with the face masks, maybe while they're in the consulting rooms. For us, we see a lot of customers with mobile apps doing triage, especially dry eye, those kind of conditions. Whenever you go and sit in the chair, you don't have the same conditions that you have whilst you're out at work, or whether you're out playing football, or all these different kinds of conditions that you get that you just don't get when you sit in the chair. So this way we can actually do a bit of planning, seeing what the patients are using, what treatment they're supplied to, and how these bottles of dry eye solutions are working for them. If not that bottle, then another solution maybe. You know, Gavin knows all that background. Contact lens wear, things like this, because what it'll do is it'll make chair time more important again. You know, rather than just have somebody just turn up for chair time that doesn't need to be there, it'll free the chair time for somebody that does need to be there. So we can do remote triaging, especially with us probably only having about 4 or 5 customers come in a morning slot instead of 20 like it used to be. You know, chair time is going to have to be really managed. Coming into the store is going to have to be really managed. The time they spend selecting their frames. And this is where, you know, the likes of us and XEYEX can come in and help. The opticians work on how they manage who comes through the door and what time, who's really important, who's not, but also being able to make that points of contact all the time. So the customer journey then from Liam and Tom and Nigel supplying the frames and the lenses, you know, that whole process, it's got to be really slick. They've got to really manage it. And that's going to be really
100% agree.
a big point that they've got to take on board, because if they don't, they're going to still be living in the old world, and that's gone.
And dentists are changing as well. I've got a friend who's a dentist, and his business is used to having 6 to 8 dentists going, and he's had to do a lot of triaging over Zoom. And it's worked really well. So he's got people to do certain things. Right, okay, I can clearly see what that is. He can prescribe them over Zoom, send out them, and they're fine in a few days. Great. But it's what it's doing is, like you say, making it more important as to who actually comes through the door.
Yeah.
Yeah,
definitely. So Benny, who founded our company, lives in Hungary. And Benny opened 2 of his practices, he owned some practices as well, and he opened 2 of his practices for the first time a few days ago, with no optimism at all. And actually, he was very busy, sensibly busy, but busy, and had 2 really strong days. So I look to the future with some optimism. Yes, we need to be sensible. Yes, we need to take as much measures as humanly possible to keep everyone safe. But let's look at it with some optimism. You know, I think for all the bad, there's also an awful lot of good that's going on in this period of time. That reflection time for me, for our clients, is everything. And I think we're going to have some really forward-thinking businesses that are more rounded in their approach to the industry that we're in. People like Jeff and everybody else, they're offering something a little bit different now. They're going to embrace it. And the last thing is the unity. We talked about relationships earlier on. I think the unity now between suppliers, clients, is certainly in the independent market, I think will be projected into the dizzy heights that we always hoped that it would be. So I personally look into the future with massive optimism. Maybe I'm just soft at heart, but really I sincerely do.
No, I go with you on that.
Yeah, I think
I truly do.
They're robust. It will come.
I think it'll be a difficult short period, and I think there will be some practices that might find it difficult to survive and might find it difficult to adapt unless they really sort of embrace new methods of operating and really sort of think about future proofing. But like I think I totally agree with what Liam's saying. It is that time to reflect and really look at how you run your business, really. Like I said, we've had to sort of think about what our model is going to be for next year in terms of CET events and what we can do online and what we can do actually at live events with PPE or masks and stuff like that, and how we work things. So there's all sorts of options, but you do have to really take this time to think and plan and see what the future is going to look like, really. But I think coming out of it, in a year or two, when things start to pick up again and really start to pick up again, then they will really take off, won't they? It's short-term plan, but
please tell me Glasgow is going to be on. That's what I look forward to after Christmas, that little Glasgow trip.
Yeah, Tom's supplying all the PPE for that. Because that is going to be a different world for us, isn't it? We've all been at all the trade shows. Suddenly, they're going to, will Optfair happen in September? I've heard some already been cancelled for this year. They've moved already into next year. You know, I should have been off to the States, Australia, South Africa, you know, building my business. But obviously with these trade shows just suddenly coming to a stop, you know, we've got to do different ways of finding business. And in a kind of a way, it shows we can still do business without the trade shows, which are a massive expense. But it's that bit of having that treatment where your customers love to come and see you at the show, isn't it? It's a different world. It's making that, you know, it's given that special little bit of treatment that that's why they're your customers, and they like to come and sit on your stand, try your new frames, look at your new software, you know, try your new drugs, solutions, sorry, not drugs, you know, and have that experience, isn't it? And have a glass of champagne with you. Sorry, what was that, Tom?
Not unless you've got a UV lamp. But I think it's, you know,
just throw mine in the bin.
It's like for opticians, I think they'll come out of this, and visibility, understanding each platform that's out there. We're all on, you know, Facebook, LinkedIn, WhatsApp, whatever it may well be. They can talk to any of us. I think that's the key from it, is don't try and muscle through this on your own. There'll be someone out there that has a different point of view that will help their business, whether it be from data crunching, whether it be from understanding frames from a different perspective that's going to be more flexible, whether it be from quicker turnaround on lenses in a safe environment. There's people that will answer all the questions that you probably have in various forms out there. But getting in touch with them on any of the mediums is crucial, and talking to people.
I was going to say, it's really important to ask a question, isn't it?
It is. You know, just ask
I might not have that right answer, but Tom, you might. You know, Grant's answered a few for me already. You know, it's and definitely listening to Stuart. You know, it's, you know, because Stuart, you know, talks to lots of people from all different parts within the industry as well, and it's great. You know, just listening into different webinars, even if it's not your own product that you're selling, just listening in, because as you say, Tom, Liam, you know, everybody comes out with some other answer, some other idea. Thinking outside the box helps as well, doesn't it? You know. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, we've been running that an infection control peer review, online peer review, and we must have run that session. I mean, we've done some for Grant, we've done some for CTpoints.com, we've done some for ourselves as well. But I must have run that session about 10-15 times over the last month, and every time I run it, I get a different answer, I get a different perspective, and a different take on something that's beneficial, really. So yeah, just chatting to your peers, chatting to your suppliers, your fellow practice owners in your area, definitely worthwhile. You'll get a lot out of it, definitely.
100%. Absolutely.
So I think we're all pretty optimistic, aren't we? We're all sort of glass half full.
Yeah.
I think we'll come out of this to stronger industry, no doubt. And
if it doesn't kill you, it'll only make you stronger.
Yeah.
We've all had a lot of time now to consider what we're going to do, and gone through the doom and gloom that it's never going to be the way that it was. And I think we, in terms of, you know, business owners, we need to embrace and be positive. You know, that's what we're there to do, and to communicate that to our customers is that we're there for them, and be positive, because we have to be.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm really positive about the fact that I think everybody's had to sort of learn to pull together, to be more patient, to become more adaptable. And I think, you know, generally people are not good at accepting or embracing change, and we've all been forced to it to such a degree that actually I think there'll be a much more you know, people will be more open to change, and that is definitely a good thing for the industry.
Yeah, definitely. I think constantly we need to look at how we do things and how we adapt to the industry. I think some of the discussions we've had with touching on education as well, and what we actually do through optometry degrees, through dispensing optics degrees, what we're actually learning, and does that need to start changing for the future? Are the things that DOs could implement and change? With optoms, when we're looking at things like myopia management, should that be brought into the optometry degree as a standard process? Should the prescribing element be brought in as a standard part of the optometry degree and stuff like that? And to take the industry forward clinically, I think there are changes that could be implemented along the line. But again, we have to apply that way of thinking across the whole industry, that we supply chain to the practices. Is what I think, anyway. That's my final thought on the subject.
I'm with you, Stuart, on that.
I'm with you.
You seem even more
Come on, we're all meant to stick together. Come on.
you seem even more intelligent now you've shaved your hair.
Yeah.
He's lost all his strength.
You look like a ruffian, but you come across really smart.
Thanks, Leo. Thanks.
That's it.
I was trying to work out whether he was modelling himself off Tom or Grant.
I just like I like the yellow chair. I think that's brilliant.
Yes.
You know what? This is my wife's pride and joy. This is she decorated the whole house after seeing this chair. This is like the centerpiece, so
Nice.
she'd be well chuffed that you mentioned that.
Is she out for the day, is she, or something then?
She's upstairs. She's at
All
the
right,
kitchen.
okay. I was going to say.
Tap it up the ball.
Definitely. Okay,
She has to
so
be flexible now as well, Stuart, doesn't she?
she certainly does, yeah. But she's working, so I'm the one at home all the time. She works in the hospital, so she's doing a sort of few shifts a week doing that. So she's a grafter, and I'm the one that's stuck at home. So yeah, house husband now, but oh well, that's what it is. Okay, so I think we've pretty much covered everything we wanted to touch on there. So yeah, thanks for taking part. Thanks for taking time out of your busy lockdown schedules to share your thoughts and ideas. Like I say, it's just really nice for those in practice to hear from the suppliers, hear your perspectives, and know that you're there to be contacted, and know that you're flexible and you're willing to work with them, and you're going to adapt and help them out, and we'll all come through this together at the end of the day. So thanks for everyone for taking part.
For sure, just make sure you're cool.
Thank you.
Okay.
Cheers, guys. Thanks, Stuart.
Thank you.
Speak soon, Paul. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.